I want to let you guys know that today's episode of the Windy City Breeze is brought to you by Bird Dog Whiskey. Bird Dog Whiskey, where the motto is, life is short, so add some flavor. Breeze Nation, what is good? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Gonna be breaking down the fact that it seems like AK was right about continuity with the Chicago Bulls team. Also gonna look at what has led to some of the early season success for this team. And of course, we got to talk about some of the changes that have been made today, sending one player who Billy Donovan doesn't know exists down to the G League. All that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Bulls, how Bulls fans talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. This is not going to be a long episode. This is going to be one of our shorter videos. But at the end of the day, just want to get on here and give some early season look into what we've seen from the Chicago Bulls, right? I mean, I'm looking at this team with excitement this year. And it's because of what we've seen coming back. It's because of the continuity that AK preached about, right? And the fact that it seems like that continuity is absolutely paying dividends early on in the season. The Chicago Bulls literally just look like a team that is played together and understand where everybody needs to be on the court. Now, have there been games where absolutely the Bulls have been able to get outmatched by some of these teams? Of course they have, right? Like that Cleveland game really sticks out as a sore thumb because the Bulls just were very, very, very tired of a back-to-back. I know beginning of the season, you shouldn't be tired. Well, you played a hard-fought game versus Washington, came up on the losing end of that. Absolutely could have been a dub, but it's okay. That's all right. We'll move past that. But came up on the losing end of that, right? And then you go into a Cleveland game where Zach LaVine's the only guy who looks ready to go early on. Everybody else looks exhausted, and you get what you get. And I think that's kind of right. Like, outside of those two games, the Chicago Bulls team that we've seen, and like the video if you agree, has been leaps and bounds more cohesive than the team that we finished watching the season with last year. And I think that's the main reason to me, right, why I think AK's ideal of continuity, his ideal of bringing everybody back, his ideal of, hey, let's get guys in the room that have played together already and make this happen, right? Because, right, the continuity doesn't just stop with the starters. Of course, Zach LaVine is going to have continuity, right? Of course, him and DeMar and Io and all of those guys, they're going to have continuity. And you love seeing them be able to bring that back into the fold. But he didn't just bring in he didn't then go out and just make a splash play this offseason to add into that. No, even with the guys that he was adding into the team, those guys have the continuity of playing together before as well. Because remember, Dragic and Drummond were together in Brooklyn, so they practice together. They understand the dynamic of each other. And guess what? We've seen that when Dragic and Drummond have been on the court together, that there's already this dynamic built up between the two of them. And I love what we're seeing from that group off of the bench. That has been such a boost for the Chicago Bulls this season. So I really have to give credit to AKME and what they did with the continuity, at least early on here in the season, right? Because yeah, does it mean that the Bulls are going to be an NBA championship level team this season? I don't know if we're there yet, right? Like most of those top teams, most of those championship level teams, it takes them a couple of years working together, figuring out everybody's tendencies, figuring out, okay, how the nuances are, and then also getting to that next level of winning before all of a sudden you say, hey, now they're ready to go out there and win a championship. Let's make the goal this season Eastern Conference Finals, right? Like that should be the goal for the Chicago Bulls Bulls this season. Not even for me, right? Like, I think the Bulls are going to be a second round team exit. I think they're going to be a hard out exit, a hard fought exit. But for these players, right? I mean, finals should be your goal, but I think Eastern Conference finals should be at a minimum what you're trying to achieve because, hey, we know what everybody is here. We know what everybody else is around the NBA now. We've had a chance to be at the top of the mountain. We've had a chance to be at the bottom of the mountain. Now we know how to get through the mountain. Let's figure out how we can get as close to the top as possible yet again. And so I think that, right, just focusing on winning as much as possible and coming back and just learning how to get to that next step. That's the next step for the Chicago Bulls because the playoffs was such a barrier for us, right? Like, it was just like, get to the playoffs, and they finally get there. And, of course, they get their heads kicked in by Milwaukee. We weren't healthy. Milwaukee was able to run through us, right? But I'm looking at again, right? I don't want to get too far off track because y'all know I'll go on a tangent, but I'm looking at where this Bulls team is and how they've really focused on not only the offseason, but even the play, right? Just putting groups together that have been together on the floor. Billy Donovan is focused on that. Adding in, right, like when P. Will didn't work out in the beginning, what's the move that they went to? Okay, we know Javante's played with these guys. We know Javante's been on the floor with these guys. Let's get him out there. He's going to know where to be in relation to everybody else, and he's added some to his game. I'm really excited for this Bulls team this season, man. And honestly, right, I think there's a lot of things that this team has going for it that AK, I guess you can say all three of them, right, that I really have in mind that AK brought in. That really, really are going to be something that if they can just keep it together, keep the health, keep the depth, will really put this Bulls team on that next level. I do want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know how you guys feel about AK showing continuity in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. I mean, right, like I'm so excited to see what we've seen continue on because of the players that have been put in place. Zach Lavine being added back into this team, seemingly 100% healthy, seeing how that's going to continue on. Goran Dragic, Andre Drummond, right? Like, really excited. Let me know how you guys are feeling about the continuity of this team. And do you think AKME was right to stick with continuity? I'll be down there in the comments talking with you as well. The one thing that I think is really interesting coming into this season is what we've seen from Zach Lavine to start things off, right? I mean, like, he's been balling here early, and it's been a pretty efficient go of it early on here, right? And I think that's the part that gets me the most excited, right? His last game came out there. Oh, hold up, run that back. His last game, he was able to come out there and, I believe on 6 of 13 shooting, he puts up 28 points, really efficient from the three-point line. That's where the Chicago Bulls are going to be able to make their bread and butter. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's where they're going to be able to break a lot of these teams. And I think that's the one thing, right, that when you looked at this team last season, we were like, who's going to be the three-point shooter for this team? Who's going to be the consistent three-point shooter for this team that's going to be able to make big plays down the stretch? That's the one question that most of us had coming into this season. And it seems like, right, that guy is going to be Zach Lavine this season. That's what we were hoping for last season. There was a lot of when Zach gets back, we're going to be able to knock down these shots. But you've seen it, right? Like, the Bulls offense just moves better when he's able to break you down from the three-point line. And his game moves better, right? Because now they don't know how to defend him. You also saw, and the thing that I liked that you saw from Zach Lavine was he didn't overly fall in love with that shot. Yeah, he knocked down a bunch of them, right? He was 6 for 8, dominating from deep. But the thing is, right, when they decided, hey, we're going to play up on you, we're not going to give you that shot, we're going to make that shot tough on you. Okay, I'm going to go to the bucket. I'm going to draw this contact. I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm going to make you have to decide which poison you want to pick. To me, that's the part about the Chicago Bulls coming into this season that I look at and I say that is such an asset that we just didn't have last year, right? Because he wasn't driving that much, because he knew that the knee was going to bother him. When he would do a little bit more, right? When he would say, all right, I'm not gonna just shoot this thing. I'm gonna attack the bucket because I know I can get to the line. You would see him visibly limping off of the court because of the wear and tear that it was putting on his body. He couldn't shoot the ball nearly as well because early on in the season, the thumb injury. Later on in the season, the knee, which led into the back, right? Like, so many different issues that continued to pop up for the Chicago Bulls. So for me, right, I'm looking at that as, okay, this is a situation now where Vooch has somebody consistently to kick it out to. DeMar has somebody consistently to kick it out to, where you have to pick your poison. Either you're going to play up or you're going to stay back, but he can kill you either way. Oh, by the way, he hasn't even really begun to add in the mid-range jump shot into his game. He's got a couple of them little turnaround fadeaways that he likes to do, but we haven't seen a ton of that from Zach Lavine coming into this season. So that part gets me so excited about Zach coming back, being 100% healthy, really just showing, and right, like, we're not even to the point where he's in a great rhythm. He's only averaging 23 points a game. Yesterday was kind of his big 25 plus point game. I don't know if y'all saw that either, right? Like, a couple of spots had him with a 30-point game. I don't know what that was, but I really look at Zach's game as something that is going to be able to, because of how he gets his points, he's going to be able to be very, very efficient in that mid-range and in that at the line if he's able to continue to drive there, because of the threat of him being able to knock down that three ball so consistently. Teams are going to say, hey, listen, we've got to get out there on him. We have to play up on him. And Zach has the speed. He has the ability. The one thing that I would like to see a little bit more of is the handle, but to get by guys. And then on top of that, right, Zach Lavine's a guy who's a pretty good facilitator if you need him to be. So if he's able to blow by you, he's not just going to get past you. He's going to be able to facilitate the ball, kick it over to who he needs to get the ball to. I love what we're seeing from Zach Lavine early on in this season. I want to know how you guys are feeling about Zach as we're getting back into it, right? Because there's a lot of people that were detractors of Zach Lavine. There were a lot of people that said they didn't want the Bulls to pay Zach Lavine. There were a lot of people that didn't believe Zach Lavine was the right move and probably still don't believe Zach Lavine is the right move. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. I love that AK paid him and brought him back in here. We want to take a quick break in the action to tell you guys that today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dog Whiskey. Bird Dog Whiskey, who back in 2010 began pioneering the flavored whiskey category, and they have absolutely kept it going since that time, upholding and trailblazing that space year after year. Me and the Breeze crew have personally enjoyed the peach flavor, the black cherry flavor, the 7-year, while sitting here with you guys watching the Chicago Bears and Bulls win, lose, or draw. So we want you to be able to do the same. Check the link in the description below to see where you can buy your favorite flavor of Bird Dog, where the motto is, life is short, so add some flavor. Finally, right, another couple of guys that we talked about, and just talking about the continuity of this team and seeing them play on the court together, seeing them get their continuity back together, right? Dragic and Drummond have been masterful this season for the Chicago Bulls bench and have just been able to bolster that bench so much. The depth of the Chicago Bulls, me and Hayes talked about this, right? Outside of Memphis, you got to start talking about the Chicago Bulls as having one of the best benches in the NBA. Excuse me. Outside of Memphis, right? You've got to talk about the Chicago Bulls as having one of the best benches in the NBA. The depth of the bench, the ability of the bench to score, especially with the addition of Dragic on the bench, right? Dragic has been balling to this point. I mean, you look at what him and Drummond have been able to do. Drummond's been 7 points a game, 9 rebounds, and only 15 minutes, being very efficient. But in that 15 minutes, allowing Nikola Vucevic that opportunity, because he's been cooking as well, to sit on the bench, that allowing Nikola Vucevic that opportunity to rest. He's not playing 35 to 38 minutes a game. He's playing 28 to 30 minutes a game. That is big for the Chicago Bulls. And then you see what Goran Dragic has been able to do this season, right? 8.6 a game, 61% from behind the three-point line. Now, do I expect that to last the entire season? Absolutely not, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be naive enough to think Dragic is going to shoot 60+% from the three-point line the entire season. But a couple of guys who, when you look at what, again, we go back to what AKME talked about, the continuity of this team, what he had already built with this team, and needing to address a couple of key issues with this team. What were those key issues? Hey, we might not have Alonzo Ball here. That's a key issue. We've got to find a backup point guard who's going to have an ability to create. Also, if we put him out there, we need somebody else who can knock down an open three. Guess what? Goran Dragic can come out and he can knock down an open three. What else do we need? need this offseason, AKME? Well, we need somebody to help Vooch with rebounding because there's no other rebounding on the team. Through 5 games, 9.4 boards per game, 7.4 points per game in 15 minutes. Hey, we've got rebounding. We've got interior presence. We've got help inside. The continuity is already there, and you just needed to plug a few holes, fill in, put a little concrete on a couple of cracks, smooth it out, and that's what this season is going to be, smoothing out the concrete on those cracks. But early on in the season, right, I look at those guys off of this bench, and of course, right, what the guys that we already had, what Caruso's been able to do defensively, just making every play right. Kobe White's been more down than up this season, so it's very good to have Dragic's scoring ability off the bench. But guess what? DJJ was somebody that we thought wasn't going to be able to get those minutes, and guess what? He's worked himself back into those minutes, and now he's been on the court 15 minutes the last couple of games, and I like what I'm seeing from DJJ. So I love everything that we're seeing from this Bulls team early on, because the rotations on the defensive side have been crisp. The ability to put the ball in the bucket has been masterful this season. Outside of one game, right, you've seen the Bulls be able to score at will, and 2 of those games were without Zach Lavine in them, right? Like, so even just that, right, like having guys step up in those moments where guys go down, that's where that depth comes into play yet again. So love what we're seeing out of the Chicago Bulls this year. Loving how we're starting this season. I feel good about this Bulls team. We do have a game Friday night versus San Antonio. It does look like the Bulls are going to be doing a little bit of load management with some of the guys as well here, right? Zach Lavine already listed as questionable for Friday's game. So to me, I knew that was coming. I like that that's coming, because Saturday's game, you got to go up against Philly, a Philly team that's probably going to come in, that's absolutely going to come in with more rest. They're going to come in pissed off that they're 1-4. They're going to come in, and it's a team, right, that as currently constructed, when you look at how this Philly team has been playing, yes, Maxey is fire, Joel Embiid is fire, James Harden has been really good this season. Outside of that, nobody else has played well. You should be able to beat that Philly team. And the Bulls are coming in to this season understanding narratives, right? So you're going to save Zach Lavine for that second of a back-to-back on that, because you understand what the narrative has been around Philly. What's the narrative been the entire time? Oh, we can't beat Philly. Philly's been a team that has been able to beat us the entire time. The Bulls have started off this season dispelling all those crazy narratives from last. Well, not crazy. They were true, right? Dispelling all the narratives from last season that were, oh, the Bulls can't beat top teams in the Eastern Conference. The Bulls can't beat top teams in the NBA. The Bulls struggle against, the Bulls can't knock down the 3-ball consistently. The Bulls don't have an interior presence outside of Vooch, right? Like, we're seeing all of those things dispelled, and I think Saturday they want to dispel another one against Philly, so you got to look at that, and I'm glad that they're sitting Zach Lavine. I hope he's questionable right now. I hope that they sit Zach Lavine in this San Antonio game, because I would rather have him. Listen, you can sit all of them for me, for all I care, right? Like, I would rather have him. I would rather have Vooch. I would rather have DeMar ready to go for the Philly game over any other game on this schedule. But we had some other news that dropped today. Not only will Billy Donovan not have to look down the bench and look through Marko anymore, he doesn't even have to see Marko anymore, because Marko Simonovic has been assigned to the G League Windy City Bulls yet again. Hopefully he'll get some tick down there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Billy just dislikes him. I don't know what the reasoning around not playing Marko is, but they do not rock with Marko in the slightest. So Marko is on his way back down to the Windy City Bulls. Unfortunately for Marko, I thought you were going to get some tick this year, brother. I thought you were going to be a big player for the Bulls. You are not. And really, like, it really says a lot about what they feel about Marko, because it's at a position of great need for the Chicago Bulls right now. Of great need for the Chicago Bulls right now. So I don't know what that's going to be, but let me know how you guys feel about anything that we brought up in the comments below, man. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.